All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dids in the Dugout. I'm joined here once again, just like every single week, by my good buddy Hitch. We're going to tell you all everything you need to know about the Ole Miss Alabama series coming up. Double deckers in town for the weekend. Should be a huge weekend here in Oxford with everything going on. And this is a series that the Rebels really need to go take two from here. But before we get started, we're going to tell you about Rhythm, the absolutely best handicapping app out there for multiple sports. Right now, we've got golf, which was their new one that dropped right before the Masters. Just a little helpful hint: if you build a model for golf and it tells you that anybody besides Scotty Scheffler is going to win, delete it and start again because he is kicking everyone's ass and winning every tournament out there right now. But that's a cool little thing they have going on, and you've got the NBA playoffs going on, so you can use it for totals, spreads, money lines, and also the player props. That seems to be very popular right now. I see a lot of people using their player prop uh, uh, models to gamble with now. So go check that out. Make you a little bit of money. Got college football, NFL coming up. So y'all go check them out. That's RITHMM on the App Store and Google Play. Sign up and you get 7 days free to build your models or have Rhythm AI generate their models for you. So, Hitch, here we are. We're back again. Rebels coming off of a win against Northern Alabama on Tuesday night. I don't think there's a whole lot to say about that. Rebels did what they needed to do. Saunier looked pretty good, 4 innings, 1 run, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, I Bleav was the final line going off the top of my head here. But Andrew Fisher hits a home run. Luke Hill hits a 3-run bomb. Hopefully something to get Luke going, who's been pretty good in SEC play, really.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of surprised to see him get dropped from the top of the lineup. I'd say that's something that Mike was just kind of trying out. I would expect him to be back up there when this series kicks off on Thursday night against Alabama. But overall, just a good win, though. Toucan Sand comes in, gets us out of a jam, gets 3 strikeouts in an inning. So just overall good performance for the Rebels there.
Yeah. It was the kids' day. Sawyer was there.
Yeah.
She had a blast out in left field, but unfortunately, we had doctor's appointments. I didn't get to watch much of it, but I know that Saunier, pitched well, pretty efficient there, and the 2 big bombs from Fisher and Luke Hill. That was nice to see. Is that his first? Is that like his first on the year?
No, it was his third, I think.
Third.
Something like that. Yeah. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, so I guess I can't tell you for sure. But yeah, I'm thinking it was his third, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, good to get a little bit of momentum going coming into this SEC series, though. Again, got Alabama coming into town. This is a pretty big series for the Rebels, right? We laid it out Sunday for everybody what we need to do to get to the postseason. Alabama comes in 26-15 overall, 7-11 in the SEC, so they are 1 game ahead of Ole Miss for the 4th spot in the West. Ole Miss has a chance, if we end up taking 3 here, to take over that number 4 spot and really put a stranglehold on our chances to at least make Hoover. And then when you make Hoover, obviously anything can happen there. But the bigger picture is what we're looking at here. Alabama's number 17 in the RPI. Ole Miss jumped up to number 22 in the RPI after beating North Alabama. And, that just sets up for Ole Miss to get quadrant 1 wins once again, keep building the metric resume, which is already stellar. But more importantly, we got to start stacking wins right here, and that's got to start against Alabama on Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start the show with it, and we'll probably be the last thing that we say is that got to take 2 out of 3 here, because you're playing at home, and it like you said, it's going to be a quad 1, win or series win, which is going to be huge, especially with them being at number 17 in the RPI.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking at here. And if somehow the Rebels can find a way to get 3, try to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room the rest of the way. 7-5 is what you're looking for out of these last 4 series. So if you can steal a game that you weren't expecting or weren't counting on looking ahead, that's obviously a pretty big deal. Let's kind of look at Alabama. Well, first before we get into Alabama and what they do well, don't do well, things we need to look for as the series goes on, I wanted to highlight TJ McCants. Your man's coming back to Oxford, Hitch.
Man, yeah.
And if he ends up losing one to right field this weekend, do you think he turns around to the catcher this time?
Hey, I'll tell you what. I would, if he hits one to right field this weekend, I would be okay with an honorary TJ McCants beer shower.
Okay, yeah. I'm all in for that too. Look,
But yeah,
TJ
hey man, if he turns around to one of our catchers, I don't know what he would say to him, like catch the next one. I don't know. But that video of him doing that against Maryland, it's still, I think about it entirely too much, because it was just like him standing on it and just standing there watching that ball go out and turn around to the catcher and being like, okay, that's how you do it. Now we'll run the bases. But yeah, I'm excited to see him play. He's having a great year. I think he's up over like really 330 with 12 or 13 bombs.
Yeah.
Like to see that production in Oxford. But let's maybe don't hurt us too bad, TJ. Yeah, don't hurt us too bad.
Yeah. He's up to let me see, 13 home runs, like you said. Hitting well over 300 though. Having a really good year there in Tuscaloosa. So super happy
like 330, I think.
Yeah. Integral part of us winning a national championship, coming off the bench, hitting those home runs there for us. So glad he's having success. Really hope the fans in Oxford welcome him back the way that he deserves to be, though, right?
Yeah.
Give him a standing ovation, whatever it may be. Give him a moment with the crowd with the first at bat, and then after that, nothing but sliders after that, down and dirt
for sure,
and right over the back foot. And see if he's fixed that since his time in Oxford. But super happy TJ's having success and he's coming back.
I would guess that's probably still a hole in his swing, if I had to bet.
I would guess so. Look at these strikeout numbers. I would say so. He is. Let me see. Struck out. Let's see. There's 27 and 17. So that's what, 44 times so far this year. So that's still a good bit.
That's a bunch.
Yeah. So, but again, the overall numbers look good for TJ. So really happy for him. But kind of looking at this series as a whole, this is kind of going to be almost a Groundhog's Day type conversation me and Hitch are about to have, just like we had last week. Looking at Alabama, they hit the ball very well, just like Georgia does. The lineup really produces. When you get into that pitching staff, that's where you can start having some success, particularly with left-handed hitters, just like we talked about last weekend with Georgia. You look at it, their walk rate is up over 2%, 2.6% higher against lefties than righties. Strikeout rates, respectable 20.5% there. But then you look at it, they're 350 fewer at bats against lefties than righties, and there's only 3 fewer home runs given up. The long ball's really been a problem for Alabama. They lead the SEC in home runs allowed at 62, and they are 11th in doubles allowed with 67. They've given up the 4th most doubles to go along with that. And then Ole Miss and Alabama right there at 4th and 5th most allowed earned runs in the SEC. So you're probably going to see some runs in Oxford this weekend, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I saw too. Is Alabama hits it well. They're in the top half of the SEC in almost every offensive category I was looking at. But then when you switch over to the other side, they're not great on the mound. They give up some runs, and then the big hits, like you pointed out, they give up a lot of home runs and a lot of doubles, which with those left-handed guys that we have and that we can stack the lineup with, that's going to be pretty beneficial. You got guys like Fisher and Furness who can hit the ball out of the ballpark, and guys like Trayson Hughes, Campbell Smithwick, who haven't necessarily shown that they can hit the ball out of the ballpark this year consistently, but they have shown to be able to go gap to gap and hit doubles. One other thing that stuck out about Alabama is they're down there at the bottom with us when it comes to fielding percentage. It's not great. So again, you have to put the ball in play, make them field it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I was kind of looking at that while you were talking as well. That's kind of what I'm seeing. It's we're kind of mirror images of each other, really. The only difference is, like you pointed out, Alabama's in the top half of several SEC hitting categories, where we're in the bottom half right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're able to take advantage of being in those positions where we're not, and a lot of ours too is you know our fielding is really, really bad right now. I know Alabama is right down there. They're the third worst, and we're the worst as far as fielding percentage goes. But again, they're taking advantages of it. I was on Steven's podcast earlier today, and I was talking about that. Really, when you look at Ole Miss's trouble so far this year, it's small things that can be fixed that haven't been so far. That's fielding, timely hitting, and getting the big out, not allowing an inning to snowball and spiral on you like we have. I mean, how many times have me and you talked on a Sunday about we were in it for the first 6-7 innings, then you give up an 8 spot in the 7th or 8th or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and it just gets away from you, and that's kind of what we've been dealing with for the most part this year. But again, I think we're super talented. We can still turn this thing around, but it starts by getting two at home against Alabama. I think that's another big part of this too. This being at home, we've struggled at home the last couple years. That's absolutely got to get fixed. You've got to start
Mm-hmm.
winning your home games. But because the SEC's hard enough on the road, at home, wherever you're at, but it's damn sure harder on the road. And we've got a couple road series coming up against Auburn and LSU later on in the year, so we need to make sure we take care of business where we're in the friendly confines of Swayze.
Yeah, I mean, I think the schedule really kind of lines up about as well as we
Mm-hmm.
could hope for to finish out the season with who we have left. You're getting
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, probably the two best teams that we have left, Alabama and Texas A&M. You're getting them at home, which, like you said, we haven't been great at home over the past couple of years, but there's just something about playing at your
Yeah.
home ballpark, like playing Swayze Field. You feel like you have an advantage. So you definitely
Mm-hmm.
feel more comfortable playing Alabama, Texas A&M at home, and then traveling to Auburn and LSU, who feel like could go and take 2 out of 3 at their ballpark.
Yeah. 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 No, that's 100% true. I agree with everything you said there. Just kind of looking at the pitching matchups for this weekend. Now, this is assuming that Alabama goes with the same rotation as they did last weekend. I haven't seen
Yeah,
anything announced officially for them.
I went back.
But in
I
game
went
one
back a
against,
couple of weeks, like looking at their
uh-huh.
starters a few weeks, and it seemed to be the same 3 guys,
Okay.
maybe just in
All
different
right.
order. So I'm expecting it to be probably what Ferrone, Hess, and Adams.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I got here too. Ferrone on Thursday, Hess on Friday, and then Zane Adams there on Saturday. Kind of looking at Greg Ferrone here real quick, just looking at his numbers. It's kind of funny we were talking about that they struggle against lefties, right?
Yeah,
Well, he
he's the
struggles
other
against
way.
righties. He's really good against lefties. He's only allowing a 186 batting average, 7.7% walk rate against lefties. Only giving up 2 home runs and 4 doubles in 16 and a thirds innings pitched, 11 hits, 13 strikeouts to 5 walks. Nothing's going to blow you away, but that's obviously really respectable. Look at
Mm-hmm.
him against righties here, and he's hitting 252, 28% strikeout rate though. That's a big jump right there against the righties that you didn't see against the lefties there. And then let's see, lost my spot there.
He's given up 5 home runs against righties. The
Yeah,
thing about I watched him play. I think Alabama played the Thursday night series last week, or one. I watched him
yeah,
pitch.
yeah. Well, it got rained out on
Okay,
Thursday, and they ended up starting early on Friday and playing a game later
that's what it
Friday
was,
as
at like
well.
11 a.m. That's what
Yeah.
it was, and so I
Uh huh.
watched them. I watched a little bit of it while we were waiting. And he's a big left-hander, and
Yeah.
he locates it well. He doesn't necessarily give up a lot of walks,
Mm-hmm.
but like you said, I think he's a guy that we're going to have to get to early. in the game, because if he gets settled in, it's going to be tough to knock him out.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of going down the line here, Ben Hess for the game 2 starter, another guy, oddly enough, that is better against lefties than he is righties. 203 batting average, 31% strikeout rate against lefties. That is really, really good. But the thing that bites him against lefties, he's given up 6 home runs in 19 innings against lefties. And you can compare that to only 4 home runs against righties in 21 and a third. So when he does get hit, when he does get damaged up there against left-handed hitters, it's going out of the ballpark, right?
Yeah.
And only 1 double, 2 hit by pitch, so really sound pitcher against lefties. Just kind of looking at all this, Hitch, without fully diving into it before we started, it looks like Ole Miss needs to get into the bullpen here to really get those advantages in the splits with the lefties versus the righties.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the guy that probably going to pitch on Sunday, Zane Adams, he is a little better against righties than he is lefties. He's given up. I think lefties are hitting over 300 against him. I think he's given up 4 or 5 home runs maybe. But you're right. The first 2 guys are going to be tough on the left-handed hitters. I wouldn't be surprised to see us load up with righties these first 2 games, and then once we get into the bullpen, you probably see Mike pull his move where he's going to hit Furnace for Gatlin or whatever the case may be. And then Sunday you'll see the left-handed heavy lineup, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at too here. So kind of just off the top of my head here, going to talk through this with you. You chime in with me. So we're talking about maybe stacking righties to start both Thursday and Friday games. So you're probably talking Udermark getting more starts at third base here. Ross back out in right field with Groff in center. Let's see. You're not going to be able to do much at first base there. You're going to have to keep Furnace there if you have Ross out in right field. You're probably talking about something really similar to what we saw against North Alabama. Birch behind the plate, and then start incorporating these left-handed bats as we get into the pen with Smithwick, Hughes, those kind of guys to try to get them some at bats once we're able to run some starters those first couple games. Is that kind of how you see it?
Yeah, kind of, except for I probably have Trayson Hughes in right field. And probably not experiment with that position anymore after last week. We just saw how important it is for even if you're not hitting, even if you're not tearing the cover off the ball, he is still very important to that defense, not only because he plays good defense, but number 2, I think that early in the year he threw a lot of guys out, so people are going to respect our third base coaches have to respect his arm when they're waving guys around to the plate. And so I think you'll probably see Trayson Hughes back out in right field. I don't know, but that moves Jackson Ross or Furnace at first, and then the other DH Fisher at third. It doesn't matter righty or lefty, you're not going to take him out. You could see Udermark in right. He's very good defensively. You may see Udermark in right field on Friday night, and depending on whether or not he goes 0 for 4 or 3 for 4, you may see Trayson Hughes out there on Saturday. I don't know.
Yeah. So we just got to see what ends up happening there. I really like Udermark from a talent standpoint and the stuff he's able to do and being a right-handed hitter, like you said. But I think Hughes needs to get in there for every reason you said. I think he's the best defender on the team, regardless of position. There was a stat earlier this year, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was thinking that Trayson Hughes already had more outfield assists like before conference play ever started than any Ole Miss outfielder had all year last year, the entire season. So, and look, he had a really good swing against Georgia there. Was able to stay back on the ball, drive it into the gap. to me, now you can disagree if you would like to. It seems like he has had trouble getting out in front of the ball, getting out on that front foot, rolling over the ball, and just getting the bat head too far out in front, and not able to drive that thing. And you saw it a couple times in that game against Georgia, but then that last at bat when he hit that double, he was able to stay back, get a good barrel on it, and drive that sucker to the gap. And Trayson Hughes with the defense you're going to get out of him, then that could be a real spark plug for this team.
Yeah, and I mean, without I've just seen him play the handful of times this year, and so what I've seen him be successful with more. Let me back up. So that the hit he got against Georgia was the first time that I've seen him pull the ball with authority, right, and hit a ball into the gap. And so, much of his success, the balls that he's hit hard have been the other way, and not saying, hey, don't try to pull the ball, always hit it the other way. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying it was nice to see him, like you said, pull his hands through the ball and hit the ball into that left field, center field gap with some authority on Friday against a guy that was throwing pretty hard, right? I think that was against Roberge, one of those guys, one of their better guys in the bullpen. And so, it was a good sign to see him, kind of just, like you said, whip his hands through the zone and get that ball with some authority out into that gap.
Yeah. And I kind of feel like, and again, I don't go back and chart pitches and shit like that, Seems like they really try to set him up and get him behind in counts with a bunch of off-speed stuff. Get him further out in front because that seems to be what's been his problem so far. Get him behind in counts with off-speed stuff, and then they try to attack his hands with the fastball, elevate it, run it in on him, stuff like that, right? If he's able to spit on that, get ahead in the count, and then start hunting a fastball, then that's when his season could really turn around. And look, you haven't heard the last of Trayson Hughes. He's going to be out there because of how good he is defensively. And once he turns around at the plate, takes advantages of those opportunities with those at bats, he's going to be back in there every single day. If he's able to get it going at the plate, which I think he will. He's a really talented kid, and a guy that really works hard trying to figure out his swing and what he needs to do to get back in there. So interested to see what Trayson has for us this weekend. Him and Udermark are probably the two I'm really interested in because those are the guys that have all of this talent. They're super athletic, and some of our best defenders as well that just need to get it going at the plate for them to consistently be in the lineup. So that's something we'll be looking for as well. Kind of taking a look real quick, Hitch, at the Alabama offense. It doesn't really matter if it's a lefty or a righty up there. They hit it pretty well. 304 against righties, 314 against lefties. OPS is 839 and 813. Just a really, really solid offensive ball club coming into Oxford.
Yeah, I mean that they like I said earlier, they are in the top half of the league in pretty much every offensive category. Starts at the top with Gage Miller. He is just on base. He gets on base. He hits for power. He runs. He may be one of the only few guys that run. That's one good thing about this Alabama team is they don't run a lot, so we shouldn't see any shouldn't see much action on the base pass. But they are going to put the ball in play. They don't strike out a lot. They don't walk a lot. They go up there ready to swing, and so I'm thinking that that plays well into someone like Riley Maddox, who's probably going to pitch on Thursday night, pitching to contact, running that sinker down. I think I see him having some success, but at the same time, I think that also plays well into someone like how Liam Doyle pitches, where he is pitching to strike guys out. The fact that they don't walk very much, if he stays in the strike zone and within himself, I think that he should have a very good outing on Friday. Now, what are we going to do on Sunday? Is that JT Quinn?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything as far as an update on Mason Nichols. Now, I would imagine. Okay, so I haven't seen a pitching rotation released by Mike Bianco or anything yet. If it's come out, I apologize. But I imagine when he does announce it, it'll be Riley Maddox, Liam Doyle, and then
TBD.
TBD after that. Um, if Maddox is fine and he's able to pitch, I still don't announce him for Sunday because I want to hold him in case you have a really, really big spot any of those first two games to bring him in from the bullpen to try to get you a win. Again, this is about stacking wins right now. And yeah, you've got, Connor Spencer is a guy that didn't pitch at all last weekend, which I didn't hear anything about that, whether
I
he
don't
was
know.
dealing with anything nagging or whatever it is. But if not, he's a full go. Well, you've got him that you could use on Thursday if we end up with the lead. But what if
Right.
Dole comes out and shoves on Friday, and then you need 6 outs to take the first 2 games of the series? I mean, who would you go to? It'd be Mason Nichols, right? Because that would damn near lock down the first 2 games of the series, and then you're able to have guys like JT Quinn to start that Saturday game, who I thought looked pretty good last weekend when he came in and pitched for the first time. He's only going to get better as time goes on. So if I'm Mike, I don't release the Saturday starter yet. I wait till I see if I need Mason Nichols to get me through one of those games, to get me a
Or
win.
not.
And look, if you don't need him and you still win both games, fantastic. Running back out there Saturday, and then you still got JT Quinn in behind him if you need to at that point, right? So
Yeah, sure.
I just don't think that you gain anything by announcing anybody as a Saturday starter right now.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Just for our discussion, though, I think that. Yeah, I agree with what you said. Yep, we can move on.
I mean, if you made me guess, I would say that Mason Nichols ends up starting on Saturday, as long as he's healthy. Again, I haven't heard anything whether or not he is, but if I had to guess, I'd say Mason Nichols. But again, at the same time, if something were to come up to where you need him Thursday or Friday, I would absolutely throw him in there and let him go get me some outs and win me a ball game. So, well, Hitch, before we get out of here, what are we looking for this weekend? Give me a prediction.
I'm looking for 2 wins at least. I mean, we have to have 2. I'd love to get 3, but I mean, being realistic, it's difficult to beat a team, 3 games in a row, especially a team of this caliber. Being realistic, I mean, I think that we have to win 2 of them, to have any. Well, I'm not going to say that if we only win 1 that we're dead in the water, because we're not.
No,
but
we're not.
I really do think that we have to take 2.
Yeah. Steven actually asked me on his show earlier, is this do or die? If you don't win 2, then you're dead, right? And I said, no, I'm not going so far to say that you're dead if you don't win 2. Now it gets a hell of a lot trickier if you don't win 2. But if we only win 1 out of 2, I can still come on here on Sunday and say, okay, this is what Ole Miss needs to do to get to 13 and 17. I can still get you there, right? And I'm not going to count anything out in a sport like baseball that's so random. But I'm 100% with you. Let's go take 2. That's my prediction. 2 out of 3. We probably do drop 1 somewhere here. But take 2. Get some momentum going here before you hit the road to go to Auburn, which is right now the worst team in the SEC. A talented team. Had a hell of a schedule, just like Ole Miss has so far.
Yeah.
But very gettable team, and one we're obviously very familiar with Butch Thompson out there. We played him for several years. Had some pretty good success against him too. So, I'm going to go 2 out of 3 for the Rebels.
I think that 2 out of 3, like you said, we could come on here on Sunday or whenever, and if we only take 1, we can say we can get us there, right? But I think what taking 2 out of 3 here does, it helps build momentum, right? And then it goes into that Auburn series that you were talking about, who, if we can go on the road and get 2 out of 3 there and maybe even sweep there, coming back to that Texas A&M series, like we've got loads of like momentum, confidence, and everything like that. So I think just not even for the numbers of getting into the postseason, but for the momentum and the confidence that we're going to need to get there, I think that's just as important to get 2 out of 3 for that reason.
No, I 100% agree with you there. That you worded it way better than I ever could
I
there, and
mean,
certainly
I'm
way
a
better than I
wordsman.
did.
I'm a
Yeah,
wordsman.
you are. You are a wordsmith. So, all right, Hitch, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up there. Look for the Rebels. Take 2 out of 3 this weekend, though. Keep the postseason dreams alive a little bit. Get some momentum. Get some confidence going here. Look for the interview with JT Quinn. I'll be talking with him a little later on tonight. That'll also be up on the SCF Dark YouTube channel. You can also find us on Spotify. Just search for Dids in the Dugout on Spotify, and you can find every episode we have recorded. Almost, I'll be honest, I have forgotten some in the earlier times of it, but that's okay though. So that's now every time we end up recording, I put it on Spotify, so I haven't missed one in a while. So you can find most of them, especially the recent ones, on there. So
Well,
y'all go
you
check
can
that out
find
too.
you can find all of them except for the episode that Chad is in court for now. Like the thing that he's not on the show for. You can't find that episode. So maybe one day, but not that one.
That's on the super secret YouTube channel and Spotify channel there. So you got to gain our trust before we let that one out a little bit. Not everybody can watch that one. So, all right, Hitch, well, I appreciate it, buddy. Me and you will talk again this weekend.
All right, man.
Need the Rebels to go get 2 out of 3, buddy.
Let's do it. Hotty toddy.